Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And my name is Phil Calvert, and a very warm welcome to the first of our Wednesday winter webinars. For the next 12 weeks, we are going to be looking at marketing fundamentally for financial advisors under the theme of time for reinvention. Now, first of all, can we just put a quick show of hands in the chat to make sure that everybody can hear me? If you could just put a quick message in the chat, just say yes. That would be fantastic, just to make sure that we've got all the technical stuff working. Just raise your hand or just type yes, yes, yes. Hi, Paul. Hi, Casey. Hi, Martin. Hi, Kenny. Great, John. Nice to see you. Richard. Everybody's here. Good. So everybody can hear me. Absolutely fantastic. So we're scheduled to run for about an hour today. If we're going to run over that, I will let you know, give you the option to bail out, but everybody here will get a copy of the recording today. So I hope we've got some good stuff for you, and I'm going to get straight on with it so that we don't waste any more of your time. So let's move on. Let's see if we can get stuff working. Great. Briefly, for those that I've not met before, my name is Phil Calvert. I've been in financial services for 42 years. 20 of them in sales and marketing roles with various large providers, companies like Zurich Life, you've probably heard of. My role was predominantly on the key account side, also as a broker consultant. So I have met literally thousands and thousands of financial advisors over that period of time. After I was eventually made redundant by Liverpool Victoria, I think it was, I've been an independent sales and marketing consultant out there on my own, predominantly working with regulated industries, law, accountancy, and lots in financial services as well. Some of you may be around long enough will remember that I created the world's first online networking platform for financial advisors. It started out as a group on a website called Ecademy. And Ecademy was really the world's first B2B social networking platform and was around long before LinkedIn even started. I've written 20 books. And back in the day, I used to be a rock concert photographer. That was very, very much my passion. And I also, for a while, held the record as the best gin and tonic maker in the world. I was taught how to make the perfect gin and tonic by a gentleman by the name of John Tanqueray, as in Tanqueray Gordon's. And I entered the World Cocktail Making Championships quite a few years ago in a big hotel in London. All the cocktail experts from around the world turned up. I entered the gin and tonic category and won it. Now, I would imagine that one or two of you here would rather hear about gin and tonic for the next hour, but we'll save that for another day. So I want to go back to about 1978, and I was doing a bit of rock concert photography in my spare time. Health and safety at rock concerts back then was a very different world from what it is now. And my dad said to me, look, what are you actually going to do for a living? You've got to get a proper job. And to cut a long story short, I eventually did get a proper job, but only after my defining moment in the history of rock music, when my favorite band at the time, Blackfoot, were in London, and they were recording their live album at the Hammersmith Odeon. And this is the front cover. But the arrow is pointing to an 18-year-old me. I might have been 19-year-old at the time, 19, and I was right up the front. I'd got my press pass, and I thought that's my crowning moment. And I decided to go and have an interview at the Dorking Job Centre. I did a 10-minute assessment interview, and the nice lady there said, Mr. Calvert, we think you're cut out for pension scheme administration. And I had an interview with Friends Provident at the bottom of Box Hill. And I also had an interview with a company called National Employers Life. And this was their headquarters, Milton Court, just outside Dorking. They no longer exist, but the company that bought them ultimately was Unum. So one or two of you will know of Unum. And that's where I kind of started my career. And after 3 months of pension scheme administration, they said, no, we don't think this is for you, but we do think sales is for you. And they packed me off to Croydon, picked up my company car, and I was taught the wonderful world of being, back then we were called inspectors, but you'll know them now as broker reps, broker consultants. And from there, I used to meet 20 financial advisors every single day. And for the next 20 years, I had 20 meetings a week with financial advisors. And that gave me amazing insight into the life and the world and the business of financial advice. And some of you may know that I published a book last year called Marketing for Financial Advice Professionals. And in writing that book, it was a kind of trip down memory lane. And those of you who read the book, it's got all sorts of stories of financial advisors that I met along the way, things they were doing great in the world of marketing. And it was a wonderful experience for me. It was a kind of way of summing up 20 to 40 years working with financial advisors, and what I'd learned from them and what I've been able to share through that book. Now, so let me take some of this, what I've learned, and bring it kicking and screaming right up to date. And right off the bat, I want to ask you 3 questions. Would you like to know the names and details of everyone who visits your website? Would you like to give a personalized experience to every website visitor? And would you like a marketing tool that provides massive value to your prospects? So although it's a marketing tool, it in itself adds value to prospects. Now, back in the day, we would have said seminars is a marketing tool that works for you and that gives massive value to prospects. But this is what I'm going to promise you today, to show you a tool and a marketing methodology, a new way of looking at things that just completely changes how we view financial advisor marketing. So if I go back to 1978 and the 80s, these are the sort of things that financial advisors were doing to attract clients. Lots and lots of networking events, lots and lots of seminars, paper newsletters. We were doing a bit of cold calling. The fax machine was pretty powerful back then. Leaflet drops, hospitality, in other words, clients coming to, you take them out, play a bit of golf, something like that. Local sponsorships, sponsor the local kids football team, tennis club, that sort of thing. 1 or 2 financial advisors had their own merch as well. It was really pens, that sort of thing. Writing articles for local newspapers and magazines, classified ads, referrals was obviously quite important, but also building relationships with local introducers. And that was predominantly back then, it was estate agents and accountants and a few solicitors. So that's what financial advisors were doing back then. Now, what was interesting is when you look at financial advisors' activity, and compare what they were doing then and what they were doing now, you see a remarkable difference between proactive marketing and reactive marketing. So back in 1978, pretty well everything that a financial advisor did was proactive. Everything you can see there is proactive. You could argue that referrals are to some extent proactive, but most financial advisors don't and still don't have a proactive referral strategy. So everything back there was proactive. If we, oh, by the way, yeah, if you're interested in how to build a referral strategy that is really proactive, I strongly recommend this book by Bill Cates. Bill is the world's leading expert on referral marketing, and his specialist market is financial advisors. So please do go to that link, take a screenshot or whatever, or drop me a line later and I'll send you a link to where you can get that. That book will transform how you build referrals in your business. So back to this, back in 78, mostly proactive. But if we look at what financial advisors doing today, it's mostly reactive. Email newsletters are fairly proactive. Referrals is a reactive process. Introductions is a reactive process. Web listings, websites, social media, they kind of feel proactive, but they're not really. They're kind of things that we set up, sit back, hope that it'll come in. But if you look at financial advisors who are really crushing it on their marketing today, you will find that it is mostly proactive. Their LinkedIn activity is a very proactive thing. They are putting on seminars, well, they were, they're putting on webinars, they are writing books. I'm working with several financial advisors right now, helping them to write their first book, podcasts, YouTube videos, that sort of thing, blogs and articles, funnels, that's a new type of website, and PR. So interesting to see that the people who are really crushing it in their marketing today are as proactive as people were back in the 70s and the 80s. Now, the problem with most financial advisor marketing is we kind of suffer from this thing called random acts of marketing, which gives us unpredictable results. It's completely unscalable. It's pretty well ineffective. And that just creates stress because we're constantly asking questions in the Life Talk forum. What's the best way of generating leads? What do people think about unbiased? What do people think about vouch for? Lead generation is the #1 question that keeps coming up. So what we really need is a marketing type of approach that gives us predictable results, that is actually scalable. In other words, we can turn it up if we want to, if we're growing our business. It needs to actually have some strategy behind it. It's got to work. And it's got to get us into a position where we're not constantly thinking about where's that next good quality client coming from. Now, there are some things that actually work for different types of financial advisors. If you look at the top marketing strategies for top performing financial advisors around the world, what you tend to find is referrals are at the top of the list, but proactive referral generation, writing books, events, web listings, introducers, joint ventures, LinkedIn, search engine optimization, this funnel website approach with lead magnets, and also hiring agencies and consultants. Now, some of that's quite expensive, particularly hiring agencies and consultants, but those are the things that consistently work for top performing financial advisors. For financial advisors who are maybe quite new, just starting out, or maybe they need a little help, these are the things that seem to work best of all. Yes, referrals, introducers, local advertising, web listing, events, networking, LinkedIn, all of a sudden LinkedIn, content marketing and writing books, and good old-fashioned, old-school, non-digital stuff. So the lists are similar, but different. And it's worth us kind of bearing those in mind as we go. So if we go back to the 70s and the 80s, this is how lead generation, particularly the referral mechanism, used to work. We were at our dinner party, we were having our fondue, and round the table, someone might bring up the question of personal finance. We might say, you know, I really need someone to get my pension ducks in a row. And somebody around the table would say, oh, well, you want to check out my financial advisor, Jones & Co. They're great. And what we would do is write Jones & Co. down on the napkin, and the next day we'd phone them up. That recommendation was enough. But if we jump forward a bit to today, it's a bit different. We're at that dinner party. We're all on our mobile phones. The question of personal finance comes up, and you might say, you know, who does anybody recommend someone? And someone will say, oh, check out jonesandco.com, our financial advisor. We might even look there and then, if we're rude, and find out. But the next day, we don't phone them up. The next day, we go online, we go onto Google, we go onto LinkedIn, we maybe go onto Facebook, we maybe go onto Twitter. In other words, we use the internet to find a way to support that recommendation. And what's interesting is if we go onto Google and we type in Jones & Co., we'll hopefully find Jones & Co., but what we'll also see is a bunch of other financial advisors. And it may well be that those other financial advisors' websites are more interesting. They might have better profiles. They might have a more professional looking site. It may speak more to me and my problems, my needs. And it may well be that that recommendation we were given of Jones & Co. isn't actually the financial advice firm that gets our business. In fact, we might even go a stage further where we might think, well, actually, I just found a YouTube channel, or I just found a blog, or I just found a series of articles that address my issues. Actually, I don't need to go and see a financial advisor at all. Perhaps I can figure it out for myself. So this idea that we can constantly rely on referrals, I think is beginning to creak a bit, because the referral is made, but in the old days, that was good enough. These days, it's not necessarily good enough because there's always an interim step where we go check them out online. Now, the financial advisors who have wised up to this are thinking, we need to dominate, or at least have a space in this particular space here. We need to be visible online, and we need to be offering serious value to people. When they find us online, they've got to see the value that we have to offer, and they go, oh, this is the one for me. And this is one of the problems, is that most financial advisors' presence online is exactly the same as everybody else's presence. And I'll move on to explain a bit more about that. Now, there are people in the marketing world, in the financial advice marketing world, who will have you believe that this is what we need to be doing. Yeah, we need to have a podcast. We need to have a blog. We need to have our own Facebook group. We need to have our books out there. We need to have an email newsletter. We need to be dabbling in Alexa, and we need to be using LinkedIn, and we need to have Instagram and everything. And to be quite honest, that's just nonsense. This idea that we just throw enough out there and hope that some of it hit simply is not sustainable. Yes, What we do need to do is understand where our ideal dream clients hang out. And that may be they hang out on LinkedIn. It may be that they hang out on YouTube, but we need to know that. We need to ask every single client from today, where do you hang out online? What do you enjoy reading? What do you enjoy watching? What do you enjoy listening to? And make a note of that. And if that's where our dream, we can get that kind of data on our dream clients. That's where we need to be focusing our effort. So this idea that we plaster ourselves all over the place is utter nonsense. Not sustainable, does not work. This reliance on people's addiction to social media simply is not a strategy, okay? And I'm constantly asked by financial advisors, Phil, Jones and Co down the road, they're using Facebook, maybe we should give that a go. And Smith and Co down the road, they're on LinkedIn, maybe we should give that a go. And Pete Matthew down in Cornwall, he's got his own YouTube channel, maybe we should give that a go. And we're so obsessed about the technology. And guess what? Give that a go is not a strategy. Tweet and hope is not a plan. And we get far too wrapped up in the technology when really what it's all about is the technique. It's how we engage. So forget the technology and think about the technique. And what I mean by technique is we've got to get away from this concept of social media. You know, when I built our very first platform for financial advisors on the Academy site, the word social media didn't exist. It was called social networking. And that is so, so important. The two are completely different. Social media is just noise. It's addictive noise too. Yeah, it's quite funny from time to time. Yeah. And there's entertainment to be had there, but it is fundamentally addictive. It is designed to be addictive. And our reliance that people just might see our social media stuff is just simply nonsense. But what really does work is networking, that is supporting people, helping people, engaging with people. And remember I said, if we go back to 1978, what were financial advisors doing? They were networking. We didn't have social media. We didn't have social networking online, but we did have networking. And the financial advisors who use social media to network with one another, with clients, with introducers, with prospects, they're the ones that see the magic. And what's interesting, you may not realize this, but LinkedIn rewards users for networking, not for broadcasting. And there's a fundamental difference there. So reliance on people's addiction to social media is not a strategy. But reliance on people's need for human connection is a strategy, and it's worth bearing that in mind as we go. And let's just look at some I'm a collector of great marketing. I absolutely love old school marketing that works. And this one from Bic back in 2002, Bic Razors, was a legendary piece of marketing where they built this billboard, a giant razor, and they cut the grass with a razor. And absolutely legendary in the history of marketing. Only thing was, unless you happened to be driving past it or walking past it, you never saw it. Or unless you were reading the right magazines, the right marketing magazines, you never saw it. You know, if we brought that up to date today, what they would probably do is encourage you to stand in front of it, take a selfie, do their marketing for them. But creativity is really important. Even today, I spotted this one recently, an orthodontics clinic who have used the mask thing to try and get people's attention. So a bit of humor in there really does work as well. So let's narrow this down and look at what are the 4 most effective forms of marketing and lead generation for all financial advisors. So the most popular is referrals, as I've already said, and not surprisingly so. You know, you do a great job with your client, it's inevitable that they will want to recommend others. But don't forget, those others will go online before they necessarily get in touch with you. The most ineffective form of lead generation for financial advisors is your website. It is potentially the most effective form of lead generation, but it is currently the most ineffective form. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. The single most effective form of lead generation for financial advisors, always has been and always will be, is seminars. And increasingly, you know, we're looking at webinars for all sorts of different reasons as well. And I want to mention one other, LinkedIn, because people who get LinkedIn get amazing results from it. LinkedIn's like any other bit of software. Unless you have training on how to use it, you'll never see the real benefits of it. But I have financial advisor clients who have used techniques that I teach them that tell me the very first time they use LinkedIn in a different kind of way, they start getting new pension and investment clients. But it's changing. Things are changing, and the internet is changing, and the world of e-commerce is changing things. So let's just have a look at what's been happening over the years. If we go back to 98 to 2010, we were just getting started with digital. We were all getting excited about it. A shiny new thing had arrived. So we were learning about it, yeah. Lots of financial advisors were very nervous about it. I remember standing in front of a group of financial advisors, I think at a PFS conference once, about a week after Twitter had launched, and I said, you want to watch out for this thing called Twitter. It's going to be part of our lives. And everyone crossed their arms, shook their heads and said, no, it isn't. Twitter now is very much part of people's everyday lives. It is now very, very noisy. So a lot of the gloss is coming off it. So we saw this as a new opportunity, and essentially the way we viewed this was free marketing, social media, social networking, simply free marketing. Moving on, 2010, 2017, things were starting to rock. Yeah, it was just so easy to get followers. For some reason, we measured success in followers. I don't really understand why. To get a follower, all you had to do was follow someone else. Pretty well anything you put onto social media got some sort of engagement in some way, shape or form. The world and his wife would see your content. It just worked. It was free business, free marketing. And if you actually half good at it, you did it on a regular, consistent basis, that classed you as an influencer back in the day. And in many ways, that era you used to get a great return on absolute time wasting. Moving on, it's starting to get messy. Yeah. Every business is on social media in some way, shape or form. The noise levels are just off the scale. It is really difficult to get attention. Audiences are getting much more sophisticated. We now know how to filter that noise. We can filter out stuff that we don't want to see, and we filter in things that we do want to see. The platforms are now monetizing. What do I mean by that? Well, Facebook, back in the day, you could set up a Facebook business page, put any old nonsense on it, and the world and his wife would see it. These days, hardly anybody sees your business Facebook content because they want you to pay. Mind you, if you do pay and you've got a strategy and you have someone who knows what they're doing with Facebook ads, then it is incredibly effective. So social media these days is a poor return on wasting time. So what we need is discipline, we need focus, and we need strategy. So what's going to happen next year, and where's this all going? Well, strategy. We need to focus on conversions rather than wasting time just putting content out there. We need to really get to grips with the concept of personalizing our marketing and personalizing our marketing based on data that we are given. We need to start thinking about partnerships with experts, industry influencers. We also need to be thinking about educational assets, and I'll talk more about that as well. And we really need to get to the heart of marketing, and whatever marketing we do has to create immense curiosity so that we are different from every other financial advisor that's out there. So the problem we have today, apart from all the noise, advisors are struggling to differentiate. We are wasting leads, and I'll explain that in a moment. And financial advisors still haven't really got to grips with digital for the most part. So the new marketing strategy, we can boil it down into 4 key things. Creating educational assets. In other words, instead of just chucking stuff out onto the internet in the hope that people will spot it, we need to deliberately create content that has high value. Deliberately create content that has high value. And that has value to the people who see it, read it, listen to it, watch it, but it also has high value to you as well. We really need to focus on getting our websites right. We need to be personalizing our marketing, and we need to understand the concept of a value ladder. So I'm going to explain what I mean by all 4 of these as we go through. So what are educational assets? A book is an educational asset. And I know some of you are thinking, oh my goodness, writing a book, there's no way I can do that. Yes, you can. Writing a book is just a process, and there are simple ways to do it. So right now, I've got 2 groups of financial advisors who I am helping them to write a book. Some are not very far into that process. Some are almost about to hit the publish button, but there is a process that you follow. Books don't need to be like War and Peace. A book can have just 10 pages if you want to. It's really easy to get books out there. So that's just one type of educational asset. Videos, creating videos is an educational asset. That could be in the form of simple educational videos like Pete Matthew does. It could be in the form of online courses that you either give away or that you sell them, podcasts as well, and also webinars. These are educational assets. When we could do seminars, a seminar was an educational asset. Your seminar program was your educational asset. Now, let me give you an example of this. I mentioned gin earlier, and my mother sent to me literally a few weeks ago. She sent me in the post a little red book that belonged to my late father. And she said to me in the little letter, she said, I think you ought to have this. It was something that he kept in his office drawer for their entire married life. She said she never saw him open it. She doesn't know where he got it from. She can guess at where she got it from. But it is a little book that was produced by Tanqueray Gordon and Company. And when you look inside the little book, it was produced as a marketing piece, and it was given away in a variety of different ways. They gave it away. You could also get it in off licenses as well. And basically it was a marketing piece, but it was a marketing piece that added value. And it also added value to existing fans and customers of Gordon's. And basically it taught you how to use gin to make great cocktails. So a marketing piece, but a piece of real value. So clearly my dad loved gin as well, and he was given this. And before he met my mum, maybe he used this to make his own cocktails. And to me, that is an educational asset. Let's move on to websites. Most financial advisor websites have no strategy behind them whatsoever. They're just complicated. They are brochures. They don't collect data, and they don't convert visitors. Now, I know that sounds real broad brush, but let me explain. Because most financial advisors' websites all look and say the exact same thing. None of you watching this today are paid to look and behave like other financial advisors, yet your websites all say pretty much the same thing. The lady on the left here is a professional lookalike who is paid to look and behave like the real Audrey Hepburn. None of you are paid to look and behave like other financial advisors. And I did a lot of analysis of financial advisors' websites about a year ago. And I found consistent themes coming up over and over again. They all had very, very similar phrases on their website. They had very, very similar themes, lots of lighthouses, lots of compasses, lots of yachts and boats and violins and people holding green shoots in their hands, lots of websites with balloons on them, lots of elderly couples sitting on deck chairs on the beach, grandparents flying kites with their grandchildren. You know exactly what I mean. Now, they all look beautiful. The quality of today's financial advice website, I mean, has just shot up in leaps and bounds. There are some people creating just fantastic websites for financial advisors out there, but they're not working. And let me explain more. They're all just a bit vague. They all say the bleeding obvious, things we can see for ourselves. Yeah, they point us in directions that really don't particularly help. And they prop them to make promises that are really, really vague. Today's consumers, when they visit a financial advisor's website, they don't want pictures of older folks sitting in deck chairs. They don't want pictures of yachts. They want a lot more detail, and they want value. And value is the key to this. So the main failure of most financial advisors' websites today is, yeah, they look great, but they're not focused on converting visitors. Now, you might think, and I actually had 2 financial advisors in the last 2 weeks say to me, yeah, but I don't get any visitors to my site anyway. You're wrong. You do get visitors. So I looked at 100 financial advisors' websites about a year ago. and we got hold of their website stats. They kindly let me look at the stats. And the first thing that struck me was that the average number of website visitors each month to financial advisors' websites was just under 200. Some were getting a lot less, some were getting a lot more. They were getting 200 visitors a month. Now, some of those visitors would have doubtless been recruiters. Some of them will have been time wasters, but a percentage of them, let's imagine for a moment that 80% of them were time wasters. You're still left with 20% of people who could well have been looking for your services, who didn't make contact. So first thing is you really need to know your website stats, and the absolute, you can get a lot of information. The absolute basics you need are number of visits, number of pages visited, which pages, how long they spent, what search terms, where they came from, and the page where they finally gave up. Okay. And the page they finally give up is usually the home page, and I'll explain that in a minute. You need to know the bounce rate, and the bounce rate is the percentage of people who arrive on the home page and then leave without doing anything else. And the average bounce rate I noticed for financial advisors' websites was 54%. Anything lower than 25% is really good, but most financial advisors are losing more than half of their website visitors just like that. And the simple reason for that was the homepage has got too much content on. The average number of clickable links on the home pages alone was 34. So you've got your menus and all your drop-down menus, and you've got your social icons, you've got your contact us here, and you've got your privacy and all that stuff there. I counted on average 34 clickable links on most financial advisors' websites, and that's the problem. There's too much going on. And the reason for this is we go back to those previous eras of early digital when financial advisors first started getting websites. The kind of the thinking back then was what you had to do was you had to make your homepage sticky, and that meant cramming as much stuff on your homepage to keep people on the homepage as often as possible. And so what we've got today going on is that approach is still broadly going on. We're trying to make the homepage look as pretty and as content rich as possible, but what that is actually doing is confusing people. There's too much information on there. So the average bounce rate was 54%, and that's because there's too much going on the homepage. And a confused mind will always say no. It's as simple as that. So we're doing all this great stuff with our social media and our marketing and our seminars and our websites, and people are arriving on your website and it is like hitting a brick wall, and the confused mind turns them away. It is no better than going down the local shopping mall and handing out leaflets in the hope that that will work and get people. It just doesn't work. So I'm going to show you a way of improving that quite dramatically. And do you know there's even a law, Hick's law, says that the more choices someone has, the slower their reaction time, the more confused they are, and the more likely they are to turn away. And there's even other influencing factors. So the older people are, the more confused they get. And I know a lot of financial advisors are focusing on the slightly older market. By gender, males tend to get more confused. Stimulus intensity, if there's too much, it's too bright, that puts people off. And apparently the taller you are, the more likely you are to not make a decision, and how alert you are. So these things. So a couple of really quick tips. First of all, to differentiate, really do something different from other financial advisors. Take content off, be brave, write your website and aim it at your dream client. If your dream client is heart surgeons in West London who are considering their retirement options, then it's got to say that on the homepage. Are you a heart surgeon in West London considering your retirement options? Write it for your dream client. Put a lead magnet on there, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. I know that sounds a bit salesy. And client video testimonials, just so powerful, and know your numbers. But one other thing, encourage engagement. Now, this is amazing. This is a little psychological trick. So this is a screenshot of one of my websites. And just here, it says, how did you hear about us? And there's a little drop-down box, okay, of LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. I don't really care how they heard about it. All I'm trying to get them to do is to physically tap on the screen or to click on it, whatever. And all the research shows that if you can get people to physically engage with your website, it dramatically increases the likelihood that they'll stick around for longer. It's a simple, simple little technology trick. But I'm going to show you how we use that to attract more leads. So differentiate, remove content, write it for your dream client, put on a lead magnet, in other words, a piece of educational value, client video testimonials, understand your numbers and encourage engagement. Know your numbers. Google Analytics is the one that most people use, but that gives you way more information than you actually need. A great alternative is a tool called Clicky. So if you go to bit.ly/Clicky-Calvert, you can get that there. And super simple. It's free, I think, up to a certain number, but it just gives you the basic information. Knowing your website numbers is absolutely crucial. What was amazing when we did the research with those 100 financial advisors is 93% of them had no idea about their website numbers. This is key management information. Another tool I use is a thing called Hotjar, which gives me heat maps, which shows me which areas of my web pages people are tapping on, clicking on, and it also shows me little videos to show people moving around my site, so I can see which bits people are looking at, which bits they're not looking at as well. So your website should do one of two things. It should either add value to existing clients, or it should convert new visitors. It's not a brochure, one or the other. Either add value to existing clients or convert existing visitors. And you get two very, very different websites. In fact, if I was saying to you right now, design a website that adds value to existing clients and design a website that converts new visitors, you'd come up with two completely different designs. But what most financial advisors are trying to do is mostly conversions, but they're also trying to add value to existing clients. So what we need to do is focus on converting new visitors, but ideally we want the right visitors. To do that, we've got to provide real value, we've got to give a personalized experience, and we've got to find opportunities to start conversations with people. So let's look at personalization. The only way you can personalize someone's experience is through data, unless you know something about them. And it's the same, you know this. When you do your fact-finding process, you get to know the client. It is only then that you can personalize the work that you do with them. It's actually possible to personalize the experience they have with their website as well. And we'll talk more about that. So we've got to make our website work harder, but also much, much smarter. We've got to get leads through education and value. And we've got to address visitors' concerns, challenges, and their pain. So what I mean by personalization, let's give you some fun examples. So when I was working for Zurich Life, I was in the key accounts department. I had a say in our marketing campaigns. And so I was approached quite a lot by marketing agencies who specialize in working with big insurance companies. And one particular day I received this in the post. Phil Calvert, you change your toothbrush when it's worn out, so why not change your agency? So it actually got my name in it, okay? That's personalized marketing. Do you think it got my attention? Of course it got my attention. Another agency that tried to get my attention and succeeded, they sent me this in the post. So an attractive young lady with my name tattooed on her arm. And there's a closer look of it. And do you think that got my attention? Of course it got my attention. Now this was done before digital. This was done by hand. This was clever stuff. So a lot of work and a lot of effort had to go into this. That's personalized marketing. When I was selling my house a few years ago, I went around all the local estate agents and they all told me how committed to helping me were, and they were going to give me the best possible price. And they all said the same thing. They all looked the same. Their offices all looked the same. And I couldn't choose which particular estate agent to go with. However, the following day after I'd gone around all the estate agents, a letter arrives. And I opened the envelope, and inside was a piece of red carpet. And I thought, okay, that's different. But it's when I turned it over and looked on the other side, I found this. Philip, all our clients get the same treatment. Red carpet treatment, personalized, handwritten with my name. Strutt and Parker got the job by personalizing their interaction engagement with me. So whatever kind of marketing you do, it gets people onto our value ladder. This is the concept of building a relationship, getting to know people so they can get to like us and get to trust us. And the purpose of a value ladder is to make it easier to start conversations and build relationships with our prospects. A value ladder for a dentist these days looks a little bit like this. They offer free stuff to get you in the building so they can get to know you, get to like you. They'll often even do free teeth whitening these days just to get you in, just to get to experience your service. Yeah, they treat you really well. They get a video testimonial, which they put on the website. Okay, but what they really want you to do is to go up the value ladder and pay a lot of money for cosmetic. That's where the money really is. So they give away a freebie. And here's the interesting thing: the teeth cleaning and the teeth whitening, that doesn't even need to be done by the dentist. The hygienist can do that these days. Yeah. What about the value ladder for a chiropractor? Broadly similar. Free consultation, free massage, get you in the building, treat you well, get testimonials. So it makes you much more likely that you'll pay for an ongoing care plan over time, and maybe you can go on their upmarket wellness retreat. What do you think about the value ladder for a gym? Well, you know, the value ladder for a gym starts on a particular day of the year, doesn't it? January the 1st. They want to get you in, treat you nicely, experience the place until eventually you get your wallet out and you start paying for the higher value stuff. Now, this is my value ladder for financial advisors. The stuff in green, Facebook, ebooks, free, okay, but high value. The stuff in blue could be free, they could be chargeable, a webinar, a book. The stuff in black, you pay for. The stuff in red, reassuringly, very expensive. So there's a very deliberate set of steps that I'm taking people up so that people get to know me, get to trust me, and we build on that. If all I did on my website, as I said, fork out for my long weekend marketing retreat where we take a deep dive, where we stay in a really ultra high-end hotel with visiting speakers, really nice food, I'm not going to get many takers for that because it's expensive. But if I gradually build and take people into my world, starting off with free educational content, it makes it much more likely that they'll go higher up the ladder. So what about ideas for a financial advisor's value ladder? And this is where I'm talking about educational content. Now, I'm not saying you should do all of these. I'm saying pick 2 or 3 of them. Write an ebook, write a simple e-guide. If you specialize in retirement options for heart surgeons in West London, then write a 2-page e-guide, 10 tips for heart surgeons in West London to increase their income in retirement. It is literally that simple. That's the lead magnet that you have on your website. But you know, I mean, there are financial advisors in the United States who don't do financial planning anymore, but what they do is high-end, deep dive weekend retreats. And I know one financial advisor who charges $20,000 for attendance at his weekend retreats, and he's booked up months and months ahead. To me, this is the future showing through here. This is where we take our expertise as financial planners and turn it into other services and products that we can either give away as a piece of value or to tempt people into our world or to sell. Financial planning really is not something that is only ever done between consenting adults in their home, your office, or over Zoom, yeah? You have real knowledge, real in-depth expertise. You can take that expertise and turn it into something else and use it as a lead magnet, as a bit of bait, ethical bait to pull people into your world. But these things have value as well. Sell them. So to take Martin Bamford, yeah? He's written 3 books. I think he's written more than 3 books now. These are on his value ladder. Catherine Morgan, many of you will know Catherine. You know, she's up and coming in the world of financial planning. She uses Facebook extensively, where she does these free challenges to help you identify what kind of relationship you have with money, unlock self-limiting beliefs, this kind of stuff. These are free things that she puts out there to tempt people into her world. Pete Matthew, we all know and love. He's doing so much really, really good stuff on this. It's bringing in people left, right, and center, and it's bringing in his dream ideal clients. So let's just go back to this list again. And what I want to do is now put this on a chart. and show you of these things here, where they fit in terms of this new strategy of educational assets, websites, personalization, and a value ladder, and split them up accordingly. So the things at the bottom, free. As we gradually go up, they become free and or chargeable, and then they become chargeable. Where do they fit in the strategy ladder? Weekend retreat, it's part of the value ladder and it's educational. The 12-month coaching, part of the value ladder, it's educational and it's personalized. Go down to the bottom, my LinkedIn group, it's on my value ladder, it's educational, and it's a web-based product. The Facebook group, many of you watching this are in our Facebook group, Live Talk. It's part of my value ladder, it's highly educational, and it's a web-based platform. But you will notice that there's one which I've not filled in, and it's called a scorecard or an assessment test. And it's the only one that ticks all 4 boxes. It's a key part of the value ladder, of my value ladder. It's highly educational. It's a web-based service, and it's highly personalized as well. And I want to look a bit more of that. And this is a new kind of marketing which is taking the world by storm. I know some will say, oh, it's the next shiny new thing, but the more you look at it, the more you realize this has so much to offer and is an absolute game changer for the financial advice world. Absolute game changer. So what is a scorecard? It's a simple, attractive web page which asks a series of yes, no, or multiple choice questions based around a theme. It gives you a score, an assessment, and a report. So that's the personalization bit. Yeah. Someone visits your website, they take your scorecard, and it instantly gives them a score and it gives them a report. It gives them an opportunity for them to think, I'd like to know more, because this positions you as an expert, and it's also GDPR compliant. It will do all of your marketing in one simple tool. And that's what I'm now doing. So what does a scorecard do for financial advisors? It improves the effectiveness of your marketing by putting value at its heart. In other words, a report, a score, an assessment of somebody. It turns your website into something of real value. It creates deep curiosity from your visitors. It encourages visitors to genuinely engage with your site. Do you remember I said how important it is for people to physically engage with the site? It gives you highly qualified data-rich leads, and it means you can personalize your contact by understanding each prospect. As I said, this is a real game changer. It become part of, if not the only step on your value ladder. It is a website tool that actually works, and it is being proven all around the world. It gives you leads that are high quality and highly qualified. And I see this all the time in our Facebook group, the number of people saying their traditional sources of leads online, whatever firm you use, they're complaining about the quality these days. Here, you can pick and choose the quality of the leads that you actually want to work with. So you can identify good or bad ones. You can then follow up with a personalized approach. And the fact that your website is offering this assessment tool, this free report, positions you as an expert. So where do you highlight this scorecard, this assessment tool? Well, on your website, in your email signature, on your out of office email. I'm not going to read through the list. You promote it absolutely everywhere. I mean, if you wanted to, you could do Facebook ads to drive to it, but that's taking a step that you don't actually need to do. You can tell your professional connections about it in your blogs, your articles, and your wider social media. Just put a link to your assessment scorecard absolutely everywhere. How else could you use a scorecard? Okay, you can use it as part of your onboarding process. So for every new client that comes in, however they come in, maybe they come through a referral, you can say to them, please take our assessment, our scorecard. And that way you can give some instant value to them for free, and you get some data straight away. Data for your newsletters. So the information that comes in on your scorecards, you can use that data for your newsletters, your webinars, articles, PR. You can use that data for targeted advertising as well. So if the same information is coming through, you know what sort of people you could be targeting if you wanted to do paid advertising. It gives you real data for follow-up communications. You can segment that data to help you offer other services, and it builds your mailing list as well. And I'm going to show you some examples in a minute. So the first thing your scorecard needs to have is a theme. And the higher the value perception, the stronger the pulling power. And let me explain what I mean by that. So you come up with a theme. So these are some themes that financial advisors could include in their scorecard. You could have a plans for retirement scorecard. You could have a work-life balance scorecard, and you ask a series of questions that help to assess whether or not people have actually got a work-life balance. A clarity or confidence around money, and you ask a series of questions, yes, no, multiple choice answers. Do they have entrepreneurial instincts? Maybe you focus on the business market. A financial fitness assessment scorecard, people's attitude to wealth. You know, we're only limited by our own imaginations as to what the theme of your scorecard might actually be. So you come up with an overall theme. You then come up with different categories within the theme, and then you ask questions within each category. So here are some real ones that I've been looking at. So maybe you focus on entrepreneurs, and you help people to become a better or a more effective entrepreneur. So your scorecard might be called the Entrepreneur Identifier. Find out which leading entrepreneur you're most similar to in business. Or the Tax Refund Calculator. Are you one of the many UK companies who pays more tax than you need to? Take our scorecard and find out. The Business Clarity Scorecard. Do you know your next 6 moves to ensure your business grows over the coming 12 months? If not, our scorecard will tell you. The Brand Assessment. Does your target market like and trust? Again, this works for any business, but it works particularly well for professional services businesses like you. So I'm going to show you now one of my scorecards. I have created 3 scorecards of my own, and I'm in the process of putting together 5 others for financial advisors. Now, one of the things I do is I teach people how to get leads from LinkedIn. So it helps me if I can get some data on a LinkedIn member as to how well they are using LinkedIn. So what I've got here is one aimed at financial advisors. Financial advisors, discover your LinkedIn strengths and weaknesses with our free LinkedIn health check. Take our online test to learn how to attract more of your ideal clients, and they click a button, yeah? And I scroll down the webpage, it says identify your strengths and weakness, and there'll be simple questions based on your strategy, your LinkedIn profile, content, how well you engage with other people, and we're going to give you a freebie at the end just to say thank you. And it spells out all they've got to do: answer the questions, get your report, take action. Okay, the categories that I've got within the scorecard are questions about strategy, questions about their profile, questions about how they communicate with other LinkedIn members, networking, how you post content, your company page, and other features. Those are my categories, yeah? And these are just some of the questions that I asked. And let's take the first one. Do you have a LinkedIn strategy? If they answer yes, they get a point. If they answer no, they get no points. Have you personalized your LinkedIn URL? If they answer yes, they get a point. If they answer no, they get no points. Have you completed the skills section? And you go through this, so they build up a score, okay? And you can do the scoring logic however you want to do it. And again, as a financial advisor, thinking about your overall theme, you can ask questions. And some of the questions will be perhaps similar to the sort of thing you might see, I don't know, in your fact find, or perhaps in a dynamic planner type questionnaire, questions around attitude to risk. So this isn't replacing your fact find. This is a way of giving people an opportunity to engage with you through your website and get some value instantly. The questions are laid out really, really neatly. So here's another one that I ask: what have you included in your LinkedIn experience section? And I give them multiple choice, and they get points depending on how they answer the question, and it shows you how far through the test they are. And at the end, when they finish, they instantly get a score. And in this particular case, they've got 32%. And it gives them some content that is relevant to that particular score. And as they scroll down the page, they can get their individual results for each category. So for strategy, this person didn't do very well, but it's given them some text that is relevant to their score. Profile, they did pretty well, gives them some text that's relevant to their score. And messaging, they did medium and some tests, and then they get a PDF report that goes into it in more detail. That is value. And all they did was fill out a few questions on your website. And at the end, I say, thanks for taking the scorecard. And just to say thank you, here's a freebie. In this particular case, I give them a PDF copy of my book. You can give them anything. It's entirely up to you how you want to do that. I see some people do Amazon vouchers. So scorecard owner. So when you create a scorecard, this is what you get. If you can get anything you want, but fundamentally you want their name and either their email or their phone or both, it's useful to know where they heard about it. And you get data. So you get to see the actual scores for the individual sections, and you also get to see their actual answers to individual sections as well. So this is just a screenshot from the dashboard inside of mine. So the data you get is amazing. It also shows you how long they took to answer the question. So this person here, do you have a LinkedIn strategy? They've put not sure, and they took 19 seconds to do that. This one, have you identified your perfect connection on LinkedIn? No, it took them 21 seconds to realize. So this is giving, the report they get gives them great value, but it gives me amazing data that I can follow up on. And I can follow up in any way that I see fit. I can send a ready-made email. This can all be automated if you want to. And I can go back and say, hi Sue, hi Fred. Well done. Thanks for taking the test. I see that you did pretty well in this particular section, but not so well in other sections. Would you like to work on that? Is that something you'd like some help with? I can organize a one-to-one with you and I can take you through this. Okay. And I might charge for it at that particular point. I might not. It's, I have to decide as part of my strategy. But it goes further than that. And this is the amazing thing. This will give you data for internal training. So based on the answers people give to the questions, can help you, guide you in the training that you give to new members of staff. These are the issues that people keep coming up with, therefore include it in their training. It could be useful for recruitment. You could actually create a scorecard for people you want to recruit. Now, I appreciate you're not recruiting people every day, but for bigger firms, you might well be. You could create a scorecard where you collaborate with other local businesses, perhaps accountants and solicitors. Once you've created your scorecard, I mean, this is very much now part of your proposition. This is something of real value. And another thing you could do is you could invite someone who, let's say a prospect arrives on your website, they take their scorecard, you get your score, they become a client, you work on some financial planning issues. But what you could also do is invite them to take the scorecard again 6 months later or a year later and to compare their scores. And that gives you another opportunity to have a conversation with them. So you don't have to call it a scorecard. You can call it an assessment tool. You can call it a calculator. You can call it an analysis, a quiz. I mean, everyone loves a quiz, an identifier or a health check. So in my case, for my LinkedIn tool, I'm calling it the LinkedIn health check. So it's up to you, whatever you do. Does this work? Well, as I said, this is now right at the heart of my marketing. So I do a lot of webinars. And here's one recently. I did a webinar for Standard Life. And there were quite a few financial advisors. Standard Life put it on. I did the talk. And at the end, I said, look, and I was doing a talk on how to use LinkedIn. And I said at the very end, look, would you like to know how well you are using LinkedIn? Take my LinkedIn health check. And you'll get a personalized score and a PDF report based on your answers. And I had 97 people, 97 financial advisors take my scorecard within 12 minutes. And this is just a screenshot of the emails that came in. That gives me 97 potential leads. Now, what I can do is, and what I do is I go through those leads and I pick out the ones that I think actually you're already pretty good at LinkedIn. So I don't think I can help you much, or I don't think I can add much value to you. But what I can also do is say, I think this particular person, there's real room for improvement here, and they're the people that I'm gonna follow up. Now, I'm conscious we've been going for an hour. I've very nearly finished, so please do stick with me. 97 leads in 12 minutes for me. Now, I know that most financial advisors don't want 97 leads in 12 minutes. I know that what you want is a handful of really good quality leads each month, maybe each week, I don't know, but just a small handful. And I know some financial advisors don't really want too many more inquiries anyway, but you could still use this as a tool to add real value to your existing clients as well. So just to start summing up, what is this thing? It is a branded landing page. You can get your logo, it's created, you create it yourself or you get someone else do it for you. It's a simple one-page branded landing page with a series of questions, and those are themed round a theme. There's a scoring logic, so when you put your questions together, and you could have 5 questions, you could have 10 questions, you could have 50 questions. It's entirely up to you. But when you put the thing together, you want to be thinking about, what are my objectives? What am I trying to get out of this? What's the best way of approaching this? Who are my dream clients? And build your theme around that. So if you, again, to use that example, if you work with heart surgeons in West London, you could call this the Heart Surgeons or the West London Heart Surgeons Retirement Scorecard or Retirement Assessment. And you ask a series of questions that they can answer. Those questions have a score, they get their result, they get a PDF, and you get the data. And you get the data and you can follow it up in a real professional way. And invite them to work with you. But the fact that they've actually engaged with it and they've got the report makes it significantly more likely they will actually want to talk to you. It's all GDPR compliant. They actually have to tick a box to and there's no spamming or any of that nonsense as well. You can deliver dynamic results. So the PDF report they get and the online report they get is actually different depending on the score that they get. You can integrate this with your CRM, depends what CRM system you're using, but when they fill in the report, all the data goes straight into your CRM system, which is even better. And if you want to, and you've got that sort of CRM system, you could then automate the follow-up. But it's far better to actually personalize your follow-up. So, even if you've got one person fill out a scorecard each week, you've got serious data there that you can go back to them and you can go back to them with the knowledge and say, I see that you're really interested in retiring early, but you're not sure how to redress work-life balance. So you can approach them with a position of authority and a position of real knowledge so that you can really, really personalize your approach to them. But this is when I said in the promotion for this, here is a way of personalizing your website experience to different people. They fill in the report and then the website changes and they've got a personalized report with their name on the top. Absolutely amazing. And you get a little dashboard inside that you can look at all sorts of numbers and make changes and tweaks. So what does it all cost? What's your investment? Well, there's a really expensive version at £195 a month. And I mean, this is for hardcore, serious people who maybe want to target a variety of different markets. You can do 10 scorecards. You can get unlimited leads. No financial advisor is going to want to do that. This is the package that I use. I pay £95 a month, and I've got 3 scorecards, and I can get up to 1,000 leads a month. But the one that I think is appropriate for most financial advisors, it's £25 a month. Simple as that. You only need one scorecard. We don't want to overcomplicate it. I mean, I said earlier, one of the problems with financial advisors' websites is they're overcomplicated. You just need one simple one. That's £25 a month. That's all it is. You go onto the website, and I'll send you the link. You go onto the website, you pay your money. They give you some templates that you can use. There's a bit of setting up that you need to do, and away you go. What I can do is do it for you. And the financial advisors I'm working with at the moment, I'll literally do this whole thing for you. $12.97 plus your £25 a month. And for that, we'll get onto a Zoom call, plan your objectives, think about your theme, create your categories, decide on your questions, really work closely with you, design your results page, give you instant notification of leads when they come through. I'll give you a weekly update as this thing is built, and create your follow-up strategy as well, because that's key. It's all very well having leads and data. You've got to be able to follow it up as well. Now, to say thank you for you guys coming on board this today, instead of the usual $12.97, I'll do all of this for you at just £547 plus your £25 a month. So that's just for you guys who are watching this. Nobody else gets this today. I'll hold that offer until close of business on Friday, or even over the weekend if that works better for you. To me, this is an absolute game changer. This strips away all those issues about whether or not you use XYZ lead generation provider or this other lead generation provider. The simple fact of the matter is, here is a tool that is relevant for today's marketplace, that adds massive value to people who are visiting your website. The fact that they visit and they see some real value is amazing. Now, we've got a couple of people who asked a couple of questions. Just bear with me. Let's see. No, I can't get to that. Let me just bear with me. Just bear with me. No, I can't see any questions right there. If I've not answered your question, please do drop me a line, and I can help you. And if you've got any questions or you would like to go ahead, simply drop me a line to Philip at Financial Advice Marketing. More than happy to have a chat with you on the phone. So there's absolutely no commitment. Get your thoughts, answer your questions, and see where you want to go from there. But as I said, this changes absolutely everything. It completely reinvents the way we generate leads, and it gives you real data. And guess what? Financial advisors work on data, and here you get the data before you even talk to them. So I hope you found that useful. I hope you found it really interesting. As I said, please just drop me a line. I'll show you where you can get this, or if you just want to have a chat about it. That's it for the first of our Wednesday winter webinars. We're going to be back next week talking about something else. We're doing this for 12 weeks, and I hope you really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And maybe see you next week. Thanks again.